Rain poured hard against the old window, making a steady tap-tap-tap sound. The man stood there, still as a statue, watching through the glass. His eyes were wide, unblinking. On the other side of the window, in the house across the street, a little girl stood frozen too, her hand halfway to the curtain, staring back at him. But the man wasn't supposed to be there. No one was. The girl's lips trembled as she whispered, "Mom, there's someone watching through the window." And when her mother turned to look, the man was gone. But he wasn't gone. He had only moved. Somewhere behind the curtain, he stood again, this time, closer. That's where the story begins. 3 weeks earlier, Maple Street was quiet, one of those small, peaceful neighborhoods where everyone knew everyone. Kids rode their bikes, dogs barked, and neighbors waved hello. Across from number 47 lived a man named Mr. Gray, who rarely came outside. He was tall, thin, and always wore a long dark coat, even when the weather was warm. People said he worked from home, but no one ever really saw what kind of work he did. Every evening, when the streetlights came on, a single yellow light would flicker from his upstairs window. And that's where he would be, standing, just watching. The first to notice was Sarah Miller, the 10-year-old who lived with her mom and little brother, Ethan, right across the street. She used to sit by the living room window, drawing pictures while waiting for her mom to come home from work. One night, she looked up and saw him. He wasn't doing anything. Just watching. Not blinking. Not moving. Just watching. Sarah told her mom about it, but Mrs. Miller brushed it off. "Maybe he's just looking at the sky, sweetie. Don't make up stories." So Sarah tried to forget. But night after night, when she peeked through her curtains, he was there again, same place, same still face, staring straight at her window. At first, she told herself it was a coincidence. Maybe he liked looking outside. But soon, it started to feel like he was looking at her. One Friday night, Sarah's mom had to work late. The street was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes every sound seem louder. Ethan was asleep. The clock ticked loudly. She turned off the TV, walked to the kitchen for some water, and froze. The window. He was there again. But this time, closer. She could see his face more clearly now, pale, tired eyes, and a small smile that didn't look friendly. Sarah ducked behind the counter, her heart thumping so hard she could hear it. She waited for a minute, then peeked again, but the window was empty. He was gone. She ran upstairs and locked her bedroom door. She didn't sleep that night. The next morning, she told her mom everything again, but Mrs. Miller smiled and said, "You've been watching too many scary movies, honey." She promised to talk to Mr. Gray just to be sure. That evening, Mrs. Miller walked across the street. Sarah watched nervously through the curtain as her mom knocked on Mr. Gray's door. No one answered. She knocked again. Still nothing. Just when she was about to leave, the door creaked open, just an inch, and a low voice said, "Can I help you?" Mrs. Miller smiled politely. "Hi, I'm from across the street. My daughter said she keeps seeing you by your window at night. I just wanted to make sure everything's okay." There was silence. Then the voice replied, "You shouldn't let your daughter look out her window so late." Before Mrs. Miller could respond, the door shut slowly. That night, the yellow light flickered again. But something had changed. Mr. Gray wasn't by the window anymore. He was at the door of the Miller's house. Sarah heard it first, the sound of footsteps outside. Slow. Careful. Almost like someone didn't want to be heard. She tiptoed to the front window and pulled the curtain just an inch, and there he was, standing under the streetlight, staring straight at her house. The light flickered again. Then, suddenly, the power went out. The whole street went dark. Sarah screamed for her mom, who rushed in from the kitchen holding her phone light. "What happened?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Mom," Sarah whispered, pointing toward the window. "He's outside." Mrs. Miller turned to look, but there was no one there. The street was empty. Just as they started to calm down, they heard it, a faint creaking sound coming from upstairs. Ethan's room. Mrs. Miller grabbed a flashlight and hurried up the stairs, Sarah close behind her. The hallway was cold, too cold for a fall night. The sound came again, creak, creak. Ethan was fast asleep, his blanket half off the bed. Mrs. Miller looked around the room. Nothing seemed wrong until she noticed the window. It was open, and the curtain was moving. She walked closer, shining the light on the glass, and gasped. Outside, on the opposite wall, someone had drawn a small, foggy handprint. But the handprint wasn't on the outside of the window. It was on the inside. She slammed it shut and locked it, her hands trembling. "We're leaving," she whispered. But before she could finish, they heard a soft tap, tap, tap from downstairs. Someone was at the living room window. Sarah's heart stopped. Mrs. Miller turned slowly, her voice low. "Stay here," she said, grabbing the nearest object, a lamp. She moved down the stairs, her footsteps careful. The tapping continued, slower now, deliberate. She reached the window and shone her flashlight through it. Nothing. Just darkness. But as she turned to walk away, lightning flashed, and for a brief second, she saw it. A pale face, right up against the glass, staring back at her. She screamed and dropped the flashlight. The light rolled away, flickering on the floor. When Sarah ran down the stairs and grabbed her mom's hand, they looked back at the window together and saw only the reflection of their own terrified faces. But outside, hidden in the rain, someone was still watching. And the yellow light in the house across the street turned off. The rain didn't stop that night. It only got louder, as if the sky itself was warning them to stay inside. Sarah clung to her mother's arm, both of them staring at the dark, empty window. The sound of thunder rolled through the street, shaking the walls a little. "Mom," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling, "what if he's still out there?" Mrs. Miller tried to sound brave. "It's probably just someone passing by, sweetheart." But she didn't believe that. Her heart was racing. She locked every door, shut every curtain, and kept the lights off, thinking maybe darkness would keep them hidden. But then the phone rang. The sound sliced through the silence like a scream. Mrs. Miller jumped and quickly picked it up. "Hello?" No one answered. Just quiet breathing. Then a click. The call ended. She stood frozen, staring at the phone in her hand. The clock on the wall showed 2:17 a.m. Who was it? Sarah asked from the couch. Her mom didn't answer. She just unplugged the phone from the wall and said, "We'll talk in the morning." They both stayed awake the rest of the night, listening to the storm. Somewhere around 4 a.m., Sarah thought she heard footsteps outside again, but when she peeked through the curtain, there was nothing, only the faint reflection of her frightened face. By the next morning, everything looked normal again. The sun was shining. The street was quiet. The power was back. Mrs. Miller convinced herself it was all a bad dream. She made pancakes for breakfast, humming to calm her nerves. But as she opened the blinds, she froze. There was something taped to the window from the outside. A small piece of paper, damp from the rain, stuck just above the glass. Sarah leaned closer to read it. The words were written in black ink, shaky and uneven. "Why did you close the curtain?" Mrs. Miller's hand shook as she tore it off the window and crumpled it up. "We're not talking about this anymore," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. But Sarah could tell her mom was scared too. That night, Mrs. Miller called her neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, to come over. He was a friendly old man who'd lived on Maple Street for 30 years. He laughed when she told him what happened. "Ah, you must mean Mr. Gray," he said. "He's been there since before I moved in. Odd fellow, but harmless. Lost his family years ago. People say he hasn't been the same since." Mrs. Miller frowned. "He was standing outside our house last night, staring in." Mr. Jenkins' smile faded a bit. "Well, that doesn't sound like him, but I'll talk to him if it'll make you feel better." He left and walked across the street toward Mr. Gray's house. Sarah and her mom watched through the window as he knocked. No one answered. He knocked again. Still nothing. After a minute, he tried the door. It creaked open just like before. He stepped inside slowly, calling out, "Mr. Gray? It's Jenkins from next door." No response. Mrs. Miller bit her lip. "This doesn't feel right," she whispered. They waited. A minute passed. Then 2. Finally, Mr. Jenkins came out, shaking his head. "Place is empty," he said. Looks like no one's lived there for weeks. Sarah blinked. That can't be true. He's always there. Every night. Mr. Jenkins frowned. Well, the rooms are covered in dust, and the lights don't even work. Hasn't been any power in that house for months. Mrs. Miller felt a cold shiver crawl up her spine. That's not possible, she said quietly. But Mr. Jenkins was already walking away. Lock your doors, just in case, he called over his shoulder. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep again. Her mom had gone to bed early, exhausted. The house was dark, silent except for the ticking clock and the wind brushing against the windows. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, when she heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Her body stiffened. It was the same sound. She sat up slowly, her heart pounding, and looked toward her window. The curtain moved slightly, just enough to show a shadow behind it. Someone was there. She wanted to scream, but her voice wouldn't come out. She reached for her flashlight and turned it on with shaking hands. Nothing. The window was empty. She sighed in relief and then noticed something new. There was another note on the outside of the glass. Written in the same messy handwriting as before. It said, "I can still see you." Sarah stumbled back and ran into her mom's room, crying. Mrs. Miller woke instantly, holding her tight, whispering, it's okay," even though she didn't believe it anymore. They stayed together on the bed until morning. By sunrise, Mrs. Miller had made up her mind. "We're leaving," she said. "Just for a few days. A hotel. I'll call the police." But before they could pack, there was a knock at the door. 3 slow knocks. Mrs. Miller froze mid-step. "Who is it?" she called, her voice trembling. No answer. She walked closer, peeking through the peephole, but no one was there. Just as she turned away, a new sound came, not from the door this time, but from upstairs. A soft thud. Then another. Sarah clutched her mom's hand. "He's inside," she whispered. Mrs. Miller's face went pale. "Stay behind me." They moved slowly up the stairs, listening. The sound was coming from Sarah's room. Thud or thud. Mrs. Miller reached for the doorknob, turned it slowly and gasped. The window was wide open again. The curtain flapped in the wind. But this time, something was different. On the floor was a small wooden box, dripping wet from the rain. Sarah took a step back. "Mom, that's not ours." Mrs. Miller knelt down and opened it. Inside was an old photograph. A family of 3. A man, a woman, and a little girl standing in front of a house. The same house they lived in. On the back of the photo, written in faded ink, were the words, "You shouldn't have looked back." Thunder cracked outside. The lights flickered again. And from somewhere inside the walls came a low whisper. "I told you not to close the curtain."